Hi, PE 582. So for Unit 4, the Principles of Strengths-Based Education, I'm going to relate it to coaching. Um, so for Principle 1, the measurement of student and educator characteristics includes strengths assessments. I would use the social psych assessments of the Big Five and just basically get an idea of the personality of my players. That would then allow me to morph my coaching style to what's going to help them the best. If there is one player whose openness to new things is very low, then I can relate new information or new techniques to previous techniques that he may already know. Um, for Principle 2, educators personalize the learning experience. I think that goes back to just getting an idea of who my players are as people and their personalities and where they come from. Is then I can learn how to talk with them and how to get to know them better and really customize my coaching style to fit the individual rather than making them conform to me, which will not work for if you're talking high school or even college athletes, especially at lower levels like Division II or Division III. For Principle 3, networking with personal supporters of strengths development affirms the best in people. So I think that kind of says it all, where you want to make sure that what they are good at, that they are naturally good at, that they get even better. You want to train them. Like you look at a lot of Division I athletes, and the difference between Division I athletes and NFL athletes are that the Division I athletes have talent. NFL athletes have talent that they then work on, that they then practice over and over and over again, that they don't take for granted, and they are continuously getting better at those natural talents that they were given. And that's just an example for football. You know, if that's say a student who excels at math, you wouldn't necessarily want to harp on them on their art skills. You want to make sure that they uh, practice their math skills and get even better, that they don't just sit back, relax, and just kind of ride it out, that they get challenged and pursue larger goals. Because that then they will meet similar people and then they can network off each other. And then the next thing you know, they could have a job pertaining to that specialty that they have. So deliberate applications of Principle 4 of strengths within and outside the classroom. Um, if I were to be a teacher, then I would, one big thing is you want to get to know your students and get to know how you can make things come across better for them. So if I knew, I'm going to use football again because that's the best example I know. If I knew that there was a football player in my class, I would try to relate things to football for that person. Granted, it may not work for the entire class. That's why you need to get to know all of them and at least a little something that you can relate to them. If there is a theater, an actor in the class, then I want to relate the lessons that I'm teaching to acting, or if there's a drum line or any one of those things, it would help to affirm what they're learning if they can relate it to something that they're passionate and strong about. If they have a strength in, I guess, in remembering names, you can say, okay, how do you remember those names? Oh, I repeat it in my head a few times when I meet a person. Well, you can use the same strategies for the lessons that you're teaching, stuff like that. Morph the teaching or coaching strategies to match the strengths of the player or student. So the intentional development of strengths requires that educators and students actively seek out novel experiences and previously unexplored venues. to focus those strengths. So principle 5, it's again just making sure you're going the extra mile to use their strengths, and again not making sure they're not conforming to you, that you conform to them. uh, Granted, you are teaching them or coaching them, and you can't sit idle by. Like, we've all had those teachers who just sit back and read off the book or read off a PowerPoint, and it's not helping anyone. There's maybe the two people in the class who that works for them, that is their strength, but there needs to be other avenues that are actively sought to bring forth the best in all the students, whether that's active participation or speaking or presentations, anything like that. Some people are more confident than others. If there are stronger writers, you have papers. If there are stronger speakers, you have presentations in all those areas. And you really want to make sure that you use their strengths so that they can then put forth the best product they can provide. And that's really going to raise their self-esteem and raise their confidence, because then they know they can do things, that they can learn new and interesting things about the world or whatever lessons you're teaching, and maybe find a new interest and then be able to use their strengths to develop their knowledge about that. So that's it. Thank you, guys.